Dyson products are expensive and popular, but are they repairable? We're gonna find out today in my new video series called Are They Repairable? Nope. We're gonna first start with this Dyson fan. I have it plugged in. Let's see if we can power it on, and we get nothing. No power at all. I actually don't know how these things work completely. I've never used one, so I don't think it has to be in any certain position or anything. Everything's closed and locked on it. There's this button here that probably removes something, but makes it so you can, oh yeah, that's the filter, okay. So the filter was all locked on and it still wouldn't turn on. Oh, we got two of them, okay. Yep, still just no power. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get into this base and check the power coming in and see if we're getting power to the fan. First things first, we got a bunch of screws all around this base. All right, yeah, and that just comes right off, okay. And let's see what we have inside here. So we have power coming in here going to this, not sure what that is. Then we have all the gears down in here for this spinning part. So this could be some sort of fuse or thermal break or something. So let's check that out first, and then we'll get deeper into the unit. But the first thing we want to check is just the main power in, since we just get no power at all. I don't even know for sure that that's what this is, but it certainly looks like it could be. So it's a great place to start. Oh, and it's got just a little cover over it that pops off. Just like that. And definitely no fuse in there. That is just the connectors. We know that that's not the problem. Those all look good. So we need to dig further into the device. It looks like the wires go right into there. So with the cord out of the way, we've got one screw in the middle and about 7 screws on this outer plastic piece right here that we need to remove. And with those screws all removed, I think this plastic piece can come out. Oh, that's got to come out first. So there's this little black piece that is, it looks like molded onto the power cord. I don't think it actually is though, but we have to get that to move in order to pull this out more. I don't know how we can do that. So I was able to pull up on this part enough to get it over to this groove. Makes me nervous pulling up on that hard, but I mean, that's kind of what I had to do. So hopefully I didn't damage anything, but we got that off. Now this, I think, comes off. Yep, there we go. And now that comes off. Now this piece needs to come off somehow. That's as far as I can easily go down here, as far as I can see. Let's try and take some of these screws out and see if we can get this top part off of the bottom part. Since we know that, at least it doesn't look like there's any problem with the cord going through there, it could be a problem up here further. Okay, with those 4 screws out, oh, this part comes off pretty easily. At least that part of it. Okay, let's flip it around. Okay, and now we're to the circuit board. That's nice. But we can't get any more off than this because there's a bunch of wires that go through here. There's no way that I see to disconnect them. Okay, so I removed these 2 screws and then this piece just slides up like that. And then I think these are connectors we can get to. Yes. Okay. Well, that's good news. Same here, little tab will depress. And we can pull it apart. And same here. Now we have 2 connectors right here. 1 and 2. Okay, one of the easy things we can do is check some fuses. Okay, those fuses are all good so far. Yep. Okay, looking good on the fuses. I don't think it's anything on this board. I think it's something that has to do with the power coming in. Unfortunately, I haven't found anything that would interrupt power coming in. So it does look like this is the HP07, which actually retails for $639. So now I really want to get this thing fixed. I am pretty convinced that there's some sort of fuse somewhere from here up to here. But the problem is we just have to find it. I think there's probably another board like down here maybe, possibly up here, but somewhere in this unit, I think there's another board that probably has a fuse on it. What is Robert doing up there? I gotta see what's going on. Oh, it's hard to find good help these days. What are you doing? I'm trying to film.
Seriously, I have to tell you about this. So the people at Averon, sent us this rower and I can't stop working out. It's always hard for me to find motivation. This rower was specifically designed to try to overcome that by introducing gaming psychology into exercise. And it's totally awesome. I love using it, my kids have been using it, and the motivation techniques really work. And the games aren't everything. I can also stream from it, do competition, challenges, coached classes, and the virtual tour is one of my favorite things where I can select any of these places to go have a nice peaceful row. It's really cool. I've also logged into my Spotify account so I can listen to my music. And the main thing, obviously, just a really good rowing experience. I love rowing, but if rowing isn't your thing, they do make a bike and a treadmill that uses the exact same technology. I promise I will get back to the project I'm working on if you just let me go a little bit longer here, okay?
All right, you convinced me. As long as I get the next turn, I'm totally gonna crush your record. Okay, and so now that's the inner motor. I think. I don't know what that's called. So there could be some issues on there, but I feel like since it won't power on at all, it's probably down here. And I don't know if that helps us get to where we need to go. Oh, I see some screws down there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws down at the bottom there. So now we'll get those out and see if that helps us get to the circuit board we're looking for. Okay. No, those were... This is a mess, holy cow. Okay, I am gonna mark this just to make sure we get this on the right way. Actually, I'm gonna use a black Sharpie. And so it goes like this and like this. Okay, I don't know if that matters or not, but it probably does. Here we have a fuse. I really hope that's the problem because that would be fairly easy to replace. I do have to find one, but so we've got this main board. This looks like the main power board. So this looks like it converts AC power into DC power. So let's just test this fuse and see if it's good. Yes, the fuse is not good. So if the fuse was good, we would hear this noise. But we do not hear that noise, which tells us that it's bad. So, 2 things. One is that there's a reason the fuse blew. So even after we replace the fuse, there could be other issues. But number 2, sometimes a fuse will blow and there aren't other problems. So I'm hoping that's the problem here. We gotta find a replacement though, so I'm gonna see if I can find that and then we'll get to replacing it. And here we have the underside of that circuit board. Another issue that could be happening is even if we get this fuse replaced, it is possible that there are other faulty components here, but we won't know until we get that fuse replaced. So let's get it removed. I'm just gonna use some solder wick and a soldering iron to remove the solder, and then we'll pull that fuse out. So first I'll just come in with some flux, put a bunch of flux on there. That'll help the solder flow. When there's a lot of solder to remove, I try to also apply a lot of flux. All right, and here we go with some solder wick. There are a number of ways you can do this. Solder wick is one of them, and that's what I'm choosing to use right now. Let's get zoomed in on this a little bit better. Now that I'm zoomed in, you should actually be able to see what I'm doing. All right, just need to straighten these legs up a little bit. There we go. Now we should be able to pull that fuse out. There we go. Okay, so that's what we need to find a replacement for. Now I do have to order that part since I don't have it just laying around. So let's move on to another item while we're waiting for that. So for the Dyson hair dryer, oh, already this power button, there seems to be something wrong there. All the other buttons feel pretty good. Power button doesn't feel good. Okay, so I'm just gonna start taking stuff off here. I've got a screw over here and a screw over here. Okay, that part's done. More screws, a screw there, and is that missing a screw? Has somebody already taken this apart? Oh boy. We got that one screw out at least. That is so strange that it's missing that screw right there. I think these buttons need to come off. Maybe? These buttons are supposed to come off, but they're not coming off. So I'm gonna start at my hot air station and put some heat to them. I've never taken these off before. I'm assuming there's adhesive holding them on, but I don't know for sure. Okay, that is pretty warm. Let's see if that helps us out any. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was easy. There we go. All right, and oh yeah, it's coming off. Okay, now, is that all we need to do? Yeah, this piece here comes off. Okay, we got some gunk in the button, so that could be causing a problem. Yeah, the button itself seems fine. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if this turns on with this part off, and see, it could be just this membrane or some of this gunk that got caught in the button. Let's try it out and see if it'll turn on now. Okay, here we go. It's plugged in. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that was actually a pretty easy fix. And after all of that, I was just testing this more. And when this is all the way on, all three of the heat lights are on. There's no heat coming from this. So unfortunately, there's another problem here, and that is it's not heating. So now we got to get these buttons back off and dig into this thing further. Hopefully, we can do it without major problems. Oh, actually, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's enough to kind of like hold it on there, but not so much that it causes a major issue. There we go. There we go. So we've got one screw here that's a PH1. Oh, and we already got, this is already loose. Oh, that's because somebody didn't put it together right. Wow, this thing has definitely been taken apart before. So these two screws right here should go on top of this, and they do not. There's a little tab we're gonna pull on here, and then we're gonna pull the connector out and pull. There we go. Now this ring right here needs to come off, and it is held together with clips, of course. My second favorite way to get things to stay on, my first favorite obviously being adhesive. There we go. This whole motor assembly is held in here, and we need to twist it. We should be able to keep turning this, maybe, hopefully. There we go. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Now this can come out of here. Now this will come off. Okay. Now we can see the front side and the back side. Let's get to measuring some of these fuses. I decided to pull out my microscope to look around on this board, and one thing I found is in this frame. You tell me in the comments if you can see it. Yeah, we've got what looks like is a cold solder joint right here. And you can see there's just like a crack all the way through it right here, and maybe even right over here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is resolder this, and then we'll keep taking a look at the board and see if we see anything else. So I'll come in and add some flux. And now that my iron is hot and I have my fume extractor turned on, I'm gonna bring quite a bit of solder in with my iron. Just resolder this pin. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. And it's possible that was the only problem with this, but I still want to check the fuse. And there really is one main fuse on this, which is right here. If it's good, it should beep. And it does beep. Okay, so that fuse is good. I don't see any other problems on this board, nothing burned. All right, now I did get the heating element out so we could take a closer look at that. And I think I found another problem. I think these are supposed to connect right here, and these are supposed to connect right there, because there's nothing currently connected to this tab right here. The other thing is all of the rest of these are connected. Those are the only two that are disconnected. And that would make sense because that comes from here, which comes from right here. That is also the one that was having the connection issue. So I think what needs to happen is these need to be connected to here. So now we've got to figure out how to reattach these wires to this little stud right here, and then we should be good to go. You know, assuming we can get this thing back together. So I need to attach these two wires and these two wires to this post. This is not something I can solder because, first of all, these wires probably wouldn't solder very well, and second of all, these wires get hot enough to melt solder. At least I think they probably do. So that's not the best fix. So what I'm thinking is to find a screw that fits this size and a nut that fits the screw, and then we'll tighten that nut up onto it, we'll wrap these wires around it, and see how that works. Obviously the best option would be just to replace this, but unfortunately Dyson doesn't sell this part. No surprise there. I did find some for older models on AliExpress, but I don't see any for this specific model. So I'm gonna go with my fix and let's see what happens. This is the size of screw I'm going to use. This is a regular sized grain of rice, so you kind of get an understanding of how tiny it is. I gotta see if I can fit that on here in a way that I can actually tighten it up. I feel like maybe if I go from the back side up through the front, and then it's gonna be probably too long, so I can probably just cut off the excess. I don't know if that's gonna work though, but let's give it a try. Come on, there we go. That is really hard to get through there. I'm actually gonna put a washer on it on this side, and then the nut will go on after that. So far, so good. This wire first. Okay, so we have the two in the front. Now the hard part is gonna be getting the two in the back. Okay, there's one. And now I have to see if I can tighten the screw down. Okay, so theoretically, maybe this one is fixed. Let's see if we can get this thing back together now though. Okay, and this piece goes just like that. Seems to feel pretty good. Okay, firstly, we have to make sure nothing burns or explodes when we plug it in. Okay, plugged in. Nothing's getting hot, that's good. Let's turn it on. Here we go. Oh, that is so warm. Yeah. So the Dyson hairdryer is definitely fixed. I wish there was parts available so I could replace it with the correct part, because I'm not super confident in this fix, obviously, but that's about all we had to work with. So it is fixed. That's amazing. Let's move on to the next expensive Dyson device. So when I press the button here, we get a blinking red light. Let's plug it into the charger. And just a blinking red light. I think that usually indicates a bad battery pack. So let's take it apart and check it out. So Dyson does provide this battery pack. You can actually go to their website and purchase it for $95.99. That seems like a lot for a battery pack, but at least they do provide the part. I'm gonna see if I can fix this thing without replacing the battery pack. So I'm not totally sure the best way to get this battery pack out. It's a bummer this thing's not working. I can't even vacuum up my workbench. There we go. Okay, now we have one screw here and we got another screw back here, so that might be all it takes to get this thing off of here. But I need to get a vacuum and clean up after this vacuum. And it looks like we've got a Phillips head screw right here. Hopefully the same in the back. And then can we, oh, okay, that just unplugs. Okay, easy enough. Got one screw here, and then hopefully this will come apart. And it doesn't, which means we have probably some clips and maybe adhesive. That's a bummer. So here's the problem with this battery pack. There are clips holding this all on, and there's no way to get anything inside of this crack to remove the clips that isn't also going to damage the plastic pretty severely. So there are two things we can do. One, I can try and jumpstart this just from outside without disassembling this battery pack. A lot of times the BMS won't allow you to jumpstart it, but I think that might be worth doing in this case because I'm going to have to damage this battery pack plastic in order to get to the inside of it. So let's try that first and see what happens. I'm going to get my multimeter and see what the charge is in these batteries right now. I think these reach down there. Oh, there we go. We have a tiny voltage on them, but basically zero. I do need to say my typical disclaimer, don't mess with battery packs at home. It can be very dangerous, so I never recommend doing it. This is just something I'm doing as an experiment to see if it will work. I have a benchtop power supply. I'm gonna start the charging at 9 volts and 1 amp just to get some power into the battery pack. I'm being very careful to just put a little bit of power in at a time, and then as we raise the voltage on the battery pack, I will up the voltage coming from the power supply. Okay, and here we go. I do like to kind of monitor the wires and make sure they're not getting too hot. We have 8 volts going in. That's fine for now. We will up that in a little bit. But we'll just get started slowly and then up it as we go. So I have this battery pack all charged up and something very interesting happens. When I just plug it in without pressing the power button, it just turns on. Now this battery pack, when you press this power button, all that does is presses down on this. So this battery pack shouldn't be putting out any power unless this is pushed down. So I think there's something wrong on the inside of this thing. I hate to say that because that means I gotta get these clips off and that is gonna be such a pain. But that's our only chance of fixing this thing, so let's get this thing apart. Unfortunately, these clips are made to go on and then pretty much never come back off. So they're a pain and unfortunately not made to be fixed. This battery pack's not made to be fixed, but we're gonna do it anyway. Now, even after all these clips are unclipped, there's a clip here and a clip there. I finally did get it. So let's have a look at this. Okay, that's what we got so far. All looks good. Okay, so I'm slowly getting this plastic piece out of here. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get this thing back installed in here. Okay, there we go. Got it. Because that thing presses in between these two plastic pieces and kind of pushes them out. I honestly don't know if I'll be able to get that back in there. But that's all we need to get inside of this battery pack. So why is it just showing power all the time? That's what we need to figure out. So we have 23.5 volts to these pins, and so that's just putting power directly into the vacuum. But what I think should be happening is this should show 0 volts until we press this button, and then it should show full voltage. Unfortunately, that button does nothing. Let's just test the button itself real quick. That is the blue and brown wire. Okay. That seems to be doing what it's supposed to. So there's something else going on in here. So after looking at this board, I don't see anything obvious going on. There's a small bubble right here on this chip. I don't know if that's the problem or not, but what I'm thinking is going on here is it almost has to be one of these chips being faulty, because I can't figure out why it would just constantly be putting power out of these pins when it's not supposed to. I'm not going to go through the trouble of replacing this, especially because in order to get this case apart, I had to pretty much destroy it. So this battery pack is really not great anyway. What I will do though is grab a new battery from Amazon and that will get this working. We already know the vacuum works, it's just this battery pack that does not. So unfortunately, another part that we can't fix, partially because we don't have a resettable BMS. A lot of power tool battery packs have that where you can just reset the BMS and sometimes that will get it charging and working again. But unfortunately for us, Dyson doesn't want us to be able to fix these easily, so they didn't make them easy to fix. I think the part for that fan came in though, so let's check that out and see if we can get that one fixed. And here's the fuse we need. I bought a pack of 20 fuses for $6.49, which means the fix for this is gonna cost us 32 cents. So what we're gonna do is put the fuse right here, and then this end through here. I've already done the bending on it. So we want it to be in there just about like that or so. So I'm gonna bend these legs like this. And that one actually I'm just gonna leave there. That'll be fine. All right, now I'm gonna add some flux to the joints that I wanna solder. There we go, and there we go. Okay, one leg and the other leg. Now we'll just trim off this excess leg right here, and repair done. I'm gonna trim off this leg a little bit too. Okay, now the real problem is that it's been several days since I took this apart. So I have to see if I can figure out how to get this thing together. I guess this goes up here first, huh? Wi-Fi card must go here. So I've gotten the white piece on and the power cable routed how it's supposed to be. Now I just have the base to put on, and as long as I did all of this part correctly, it'll be time to start it up and see if this thing finally works. This thing is huge. Here we go. Oh, we do have power. And I feel air coming out. Will it turn though? Maybe it's not supposed to be turning, I don't know. I think there is either a remote or an app that comes with this that I don't have. So unfortunately we can't test all the features, but the great news is that it's actually working. Now I think the battery just came in the mail for the vacuum, so I'm gonna grab that to see if the vacuum works with this new battery. So here is our battery straight from the package. This is the replacement tool battery for this Dyson vacuum, and I'm not always a fan of replacement batteries from third parties. They generally don't work as well as the genuine manufacturer batteries, but this one was a good enough price, I decided to buy it anyway. So the first thing I want to do is plug it in. Let's make sure it charges. Okay, and it looks like it is charging. So let's get it installed onto the vacuum. The nice thing is that these are pretty replaceable as far as the whole unit. The battery packs themselves are definitely not that fixable, but it's not too hard to replace them. I will give them that. And put the dustbin back on. Let's see if this thing will start up. All right. Really not too bad. So in the end, I want to say, are Expensive Dyson Products repairable? Nope. But I have to say they're sort of repairable. They definitely don't offer very many parts, and it's really hard to find aftermarket parts for them. And as you saw, it is really hard to tear into these things to get to the parts you might need to change. So I definitely wouldn't consider them easily repairable, and probably not even mediumly repairable, but I was able to fix some of them. If you like this type of video, you'll probably like the video where I bought an entire pallet of broken power tools. I'll put a link for that video up on your screen now so you can come hang out with me over there, see what I got, and what I was able to fix. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.